Hi, Steve Gillmor. This is the Gillmor Gang. I'd like to say to Microsoft that thanks to you, cut to the camera one. Yeah. Now, for those of you who can't see that, it says Skype quit unexpectedly. So,
no, that's
so
not
whatever
true. It's expectedly.
That's the expected unexpected. Yeah.
It's what's unexpected is the.
It quit expectedly.
Yeah.
It always quits expectedly.
Yeah. So we're gonna. I'm taking this Mac Mini out and I'm throwing it in the ocean. So we've only got 3 channels today, but it's more than enough for the superstars that are with us today. So starting with the oldest first, well, that's me. But then, actually, Doc, you're older than I am. Doc Searls, welcome.
Few minutes, yeah. Thanks, yeah. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for calling that out.
From New York City, hey.
Right.
Yo.
Do you know the way to Times Square, or should I just go fuck myself?
Exactly. I actually skipped the first part.
Okay, also joining us from Half Moon Bay is the incredible Robert Scoble.
Hello.
Yes. Just off the phone with Dave Weiner, apparently. Is that correct?
Yeah. Dave has a cool new
software.
Outliner. Tiny outliner.
I
should give him... well, he'll have to come on the show to get his URL.
Trust me, Dave's not coming on the show. Not that I wouldn't love to have him on the show, but, you know, there's this little RSS is dead problem.
Anyways, he has a new company called smallpicture.com.
Well, that's great. Well, we'll hear more about that in a minute. And joining us from his dog compound in San Jose, is that where you are?
I'm in my backyard, yes.
Yes, okay. It's Kevin Marks. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi there.
Okay, so what's happening?
Flipboard came out with a new version this week.
Right. And we care about that because
I have a magazine that's really pretty cool there.
What does that mean?
Flipboard lets you do these things called magazines now. Let me pull one up. Where I can collect different content into a beautiful magazine. So I have a magazine on startup news, which has a lot of TechCrunch articles in it.
Did you create that? You created that magazine?
Yeah. So I Flipboard lets you watch Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and a few Google Plus,
RSS.
All in one place. And in a week, I've found 285 articles about startups or from startups, and I put it on a magazine. And so far in 2 days, I have 1,900 readers, and they've done 47,000 page flips so far in a couple days. So you can see it there. And there's more than 100,000 magazines that people have created already on it, and it's pretty cool. But other than that.
So what do you think is their strategy here? Why are they're moving to the web? Is that what it is?
No, eventually they're going to get there because that's still where a big audience is. You know, where do I think they're going? They're studying content curation to get better things for people to read. The more stuff there is to read, the more page flips you do, the more inventory for advertising there is, and that's really what they're up to, is sticking a big full-page ad in, let's say, every 100 page flips that you do.
Okay.
So the fact that I got them, this new magazine has 14,000 page flips means they showed an ad here and there, right?
Page flips is their unit of currency?
Yeah. How many times were you interested in the content to keep going? Yeah. So 47,000 page flips, sorry. So every time somebody does that, that counts as a page. Right?
But you have to page flip in order to see anything else.
Right. So
have you had 47,000 page flips, Robert? Or is
on just
everybody?
This one magazine.
Do they count if you had time to actually read it?
No, it's just if you page through it, they assume that you're interested in seeing more, right? If you think that content sucks,
interested in not being
stop
in that page and flicking through it. I mean,
Yeah, but if you're reading a startup magazine and you think my content sucks, you're not going to read very much, right? You're going to flip it 3 times and go, oh, that sucks. I'm out of here. If you really find the content that I've curated interesting, you're going to sit there for an hour and page flip through all 300 articles that I've found already.
Yeah,
And I
well,
keep
that's what
finding
I'm
new
saying. The
ones.
duration that you sit on the page matters too. Page
I'm
flips
sure
is
they're
when you-
tracking that as well. They haven't exposed that in the UI yet.
I,
Uh,
I like the part here where it says this is New York Times photojournalism and New York Times World News. It says content unavailable. That's a little plug for the Times. I don't know what they need to get it straight with Flipboard to make sure that works.
So I guess
Exactly.
the big story right now on the top of Tech Meme is Facebook has sent out invites to a press conference next Thursday all about Android. And there's lots of rumors that Facebook is going to do an Android OS. I've talked to a few people at Facebook, and they say that's bullshit. But obviously, Facebook's doing something. So what is it that they're doing? I think we're just going to see a greatly upgraded app next week.
And what has this got to do with Andy Rubin suddenly posting only on Facebook?
I have no idea, but that's sort of interesting, isn't it?
I thought so. I mean, he seems to be the first executive to abandon Google+.
Well, the last time I was at Facebook, I asked him what the relationship between Google and Facebook is like, and it's been troubled at best in the past. And they said it's getting warmer. So, does this mean that Google and Facebook are sitting down and working together on something? That would be a very interesting thing, particularly with Google Glass coming, because what's missing from Google Glass is Facebook. That's what I want on it. My family is all on Facebook, and they're not going to join Google Plus. I've tried, and they're not going to join them. So Google, if they give up the idea that they're going to get everybody to move from Facebook onto Google Plus and start working with Facebook to put new features into this Glass, I think that would be very, very positive. I'll be looking for signs of that from this press conference.
Doc, are you on Facebook?
Not like it's a drug, but I have it. It's I keep it in the medicine cabinet over here if I need any.
You mean right next to the Metamucil, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. Now I've got 900 fiends on there, and and I go there when there's no other way to talk to some people. But other than that, I have it like I have Flipboard.
And I was asked by my producer recently why I had 9,000 fans. I don't know why I have one fan. Subscribers, right, on Facebook. I mean, I don't do anything on Facebook other than
I know why.
push every tweet that I have over there.
You're getting blown by 9,000 fans? Is that what it is?
You don't really have 9,000 fans, Steve. You have
No, it's
you've
not
been
subscribers.
put on a list. You've been put on. Yeah, it's not really subscribers either. Let me look at your follower numbers. Hold on. You have 311 followers,
Well,
and
that makes sense.
you have 9,361 followers via lists because I put you on one of my tech journalist lists.
I knew it was your fault, but I didn't understand it. Now,
and
I
that
do.
list has almost 10,000 followers. So that's how you got that many. The trick to goosing your numbers up is to get people to put you on popular lists.
Really?
Yeah, I'm on one list that has
Is this on
120,000
Facebook you're talking about?
subscribers.
Yeah.
What's that?
Why don't you take me off and put Doc?
Is that on
on?
Facebook you're talking about?
I'm pretty sure I have Doc on a list too.
Oh, okay,
and if I
good.
don't, I'll put him on one.
Yeah. I want to get the.
Here's my shit list right over here.
Doc, you're actually on my close friends list, so I
that's
actually
good.
get.
I'm flattered.
Yeah, but we're talking about not about
sweet.
close
I
friends is
appreciate
the
that,
is the best thing on Facebook because it leads into notifications, which is amazing.
And actually, Doc, you're on my startup entrepreneurs and tech news list.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So we're taking care
Doc
of
does
that.
not have. So here's a problem for Doc. Doc has 10,500 followers. He has 183 followers, and the rest are via the lists I put him on.
Yeah. It's 183 followers on Facebook something. What is that? Where would I look for my followers? If I go to Facebook, which is where I am now.
If you go on your
where do I find followers?
If you go on your timeline, there's a button there that shows followers. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like.
I don't even know where my timeline is. I may have turned timeline on. That may be the problem. So I think I had an option for turning it on and never did.
Has its new followers button. You click on that, you can see.
I'll check.
I have 200. I have 234,000 followers, 5,000 friends, and 253,000 followers via lists.
I have 7 followers via lists.
Yeah. Well, that shows me that I haven't added you to a list yet, Kevin.
That's right.
Well, that's because I haven't friended you on Facebook.
Well, that's another problem of yours.
Scoble's suggested
I have
user
sent you
list.
a friend request. Here, look. This is what a Facebook snub looks like. When it says friend request sent and no reply comes back, that means, oh, that's a snub.
It's the reverse of a poke. It's like a... Sorry.
I'm going to cancel.
Maybe Facebook filtering is good enough for me to follow Scoble now. I'm not sure. That's what I'm always wary of following you on anything because it means that my feed turns into all the Scoble show.
Anyways, I just added you to a tech news list.
Okay, I'm going to...
And I'll add you. I have a couple secret lists that I'm building. One's a programmer and developer. You're still a programmer, right?
You can.
I'm still a programmer.
All right. Cool.
Some of the time.
I figure I didn't need to put you on the PR list.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh. And what benefits does that list have?
Well, I have some internal lists that are for my organization. I'm collecting programmers into a list so that I can build a public list of programmers. Doesn't mean much at this point.
Okay, so check. Now we've talked about Facebook.
I don't know what they're coming out with. Android app. Lots of speculation.
Do you think that represents something important, or?
Yeah, because I'm on Android now.
Oh, you still are.
I would like a lot better Android app than than is available.
You do have that kind of that look to you of, just having to make do.
It's now been a week and a half, right?
Well, so which one are you on? Because I cracked my screen, so I need to get a new phone. So.
I have the HTC DNA because I'm not going to join AT&T.
Well, I'm on T-Mobile, so.
Okay,
so have the real unlimited plan.
I would look at the HTC One. My brother-in-law, I gave him the HTC One because he's on AT&T, and he had a crappy old Nokia phone. What's really interesting is his complaints are really fascinating. One, he's getting more drop calls with the HTC One than he was getting with his old cheap-ass Nokia phone, which was not a smartphone.
Is that a brand name? Cheap-ass?
And... He says the web doesn't come up as fast as it does on the iPhones that he because everybody in his family has iPhones, so he's feeling inadequate about the web popping up, and I have tried to speed that up a little bit by making sure he has the latest stuff. But we're gonna have to do some demos or some comparison videos of these three phones. I'm trying to sort of wait until the Samsung comes out in. Late, it's coming out in May, right?
So you don't have an old Samsung of some kind, Robert?
No. I used to have an S3, but I sent it back. Yeah.
Well, so, my take is there's 3 or 4 of these nice 1080p phones, but they've all got some kind of craft on them, and I want to know which one is the least crafty and which is the closest to the pure Nexus experience, which is what I like. Because there's the Samsung, there's the HTC One, there's the Sony Xperia something or other.
Yeah.
There's one more. There's one more as well, isn't there?
I don't know.
Mentioned. Anyway, there's a bunch of these. They've all got really high def screens, but I'm worried they're going to have lots of manufacturer-made cruft on there that I want to delete.
The Motorola is not too bad. It's not native. It's not naked Android. But it's fairly standard stuff. The HTC One has a UI that's completely different than the DNA HTC. So even inside their own product families, they have different UIs, which is it's not that bad, because how many people actually switch phones the way I am switching phones right now? But it does demonstrate this fragmentation problem. That the UIs just aren't the same. So if your friend has a different phone, you can't even help her out because you don't know where anything is.
So, Doc.
That is a problem.
Doc, what's important to you these days?
Oh boy. Well, I think there's this amazing sort of sea change I sense in. You'll not be surprised in the general population toward being followed around all the time. I was at a thing in San Francisco week before last where a bunch of different people showed different things, but the most interesting one was I thought was Phil Windley's Internet of Things, the Internet of Me and My Things. It's really pretty cool. Like, I was going to show something, for example. Okay, so here, I'm knocking everything down. So here's one of my things. This is a camcorder right there. It's a camcorder. And there's a QR code hanging from the camcorder right there. Yeah, not bad. So if I lose this and somebody scans it, it'll bring up a web page that's at a... that's mine. But it's in my personal cloud. The idea that I have my own cloud, or anybody can have their own cloud, and I can host it wherever I want. I can host it at Rackspace, or I can host it in my own server if I want, or I can host it in any particular place. And any one of those places can offer all kinds of value-added services around it, but the cool thing about it is that it is fully mine. And I can put whatever message I want in there, like, I've lost this, please call me at this number, whatever. It's prototypical at this stage, but the important thing is...
How do you point to it? I mean, is the domain name
the
key?
What you do is you just do this. I mean, almost everybody has, not everybody, but a lot of people have something they use to go into Best Buy or something and scan and scram. So you've got a scan. Here's a iPhone here. But if I take the scanning application on the iPhone and I point it at the scanning thing, at the little QR code, it will bring up a web page, and the web page says whatever I want it to say, but it's in my cloud. The interesting thing is that what he's defining with open source code, but he has his own services on top of that, is a space in the net that is entirely mine, and I can put whatever I want in it, but then companies can come along and write on top of my platform, write applications for me and on me, as it were, on any of my things. And also the intelligence in this thing, like Sony, this is Sony makes this camcorder, but this intelligence in this doesn't have to be Sony's. I mean, Sony doesn't have to put a chip in here that makes it smart. The smartness can be out here. My stove can have intelligence. Anything can have intelligence in the cloud, but it's intelligence that I can put in there. Like, let's say I send this thing into Sony, and they want to scan that and see everything I've shot with it, because I can have a link between that and whatever I've put up on YouTube. So they can see, oh, that's what this guy's done with this camera. Or here's some information he wants to give us about how he's a loyal customer, or what the duty cycle of it is, or maybe a bug report, or whatever else I want to do with it. But the point is that I have control over that. And there has developed in San Francisco, especially, groups of people that are getting together and talking about personal clouds and developing for it. So, and this is kind of happening in the wild just over the last few weeks. It is fun.
All right, context switch. Kevin, can you move your mic so that your breathing is not so apparent?
I like hearing Kevin sneeze. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, we got that one. We're releasing that as an app. All right, and
it's a smart sneeze.
From a technical perspective, Doc, what is the mechanism by which you have this web page? Who owns that web page? I mean, you said anybody can do it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how is it? How do you connect the web page to the code?
Well, right now there's Kinetics, which is Phil Winley's company, Kynetx.
So Kinetics is hosting.
No, they're not. Well, they are, but they have a little company called Square Tag, like Square and Tag, but it's a prototype at this point. They can do it, or anybody else can do it. The code for doing that, the engine that executes the code, and the language used that you develop for it with are open source. So anybody could do it, but right now he's the one doing it through Kinetics. But the idea is not that he will have a silo that is going to be where all your things live, which is sort of the standard way of doing things these days, but rather that you can have your own silo. And that silo can be hosted wherever you want to host it, or in any number of places.
Right. So the reason I'm trying to tie this back to what Dave Blenner's doing with his new project, because from what the little I read on Matthew Ingram's post about Dave's new project, it seems that Dave is trying to carve out some sort of open or non-Big Co owned environment. Robert, can you explain what it is that Dave is doing in more detail?
I don't know that much about it. I just started reading up on it, and Dave called me, and I played with his little outliner, and I know his past, so I can talk a little bit about why he loves outlines so much and how I've seen him use them in the past. But I don't feel qualified enough to really talk about.
I guess what I'm trying to get at.
I'm using it. I'm one of his users. I can tell you a little bit about it.
Okay, please.
Okay, so what he's got is a really simple way to do outlining in a web page in a browser and have it export as OPML that you can use in a blog or some other place like that. And he's got a bunch of friends and co-developers that are working on it. It's simple and it's small and it's open where it needs to be. And I don't know what business he's going to develop on top of it exactly, but I really like it because I love outlining. I've always loved outlining. I've loved it ever since I first learned about it from Dave in 1984. And I've wanted to see outlining done again and done right, and he's the king of that, and I love the way he's doing it, and I'm having fun with it. So I think it's a cool thing, and there's a lot of really good interaction between Dave and various developers and friends that are helping him with it. David Weinberger, for example, Andrew Grummett, and a few other people. He's got a developer named Kyle who's on the case, and I think he's in California. I don't know if it matters where he is, but he's not working on it alone, and it's pretty cool. I'm having fun with it.
Go ahead.
What he's built at littleoutlining.com, as I understand it, you can correct me if I got this wrong, is it's the classic more like interface of the outliner where you create things and put things inside other things and so on.
And you glossed over that, but more just for the
more is the original outliner program that Dave wrote 25 years ago or thereabouts for the Mac, and which built on it was the one that took off as an organizational tool, and so you have things, you can indent them inside each other. You're basically building a hierarchy of things that you can collapse bits of, and then you can put links in there that will connect you to other places, and potentially it'll bring things in. I'm not sure how much of that is in this piece, but it will import the piece from the other area and put it in there as well. So, but what he's built with Little Outliner, as I understand it, is it runs entirely in the browser. It uses HTML5 local storage, so everything's stored on your own machine and nothing is stored on the server. So it's not actually published on the web, it's just on your own machine. So it's a classic document editing thing, and the piece that's sort of missing is being able to see other people's versions. And it also means, because it's on your machine, not in the cloud, if you open the same site from your phone, you get a different outline.
For some reason, Kevin, something is rubbing against the mic, and
it's the headphone cord. I can see it.
Yeah, it just sounds like little mice running around, basically.
Oh, I do have that in the loft. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry.
Is that better? I could go and get the big mic.
We don't have time.
Okay.
All right, so so we understand that this is Dave going back to basics and to his roots. My question is I mean, what I think Dave did more than anything, in addition to what he did as a software designer, was that he popularized and he played the political tides carefully to create enough momentum that an ecosystem emerged, first with blogs, then with RSS and so on.
Podcasting.
Yeah, well, I always have felt that podcasting was just a derivative of RSS. I mean, it was enabled by the tag attachment tag and sort of rose and fell on that basis. I don't know that the things that are being done now, like this show, which they use RSS, but only as a very small component. The streaming metaphor or the streaming network reality is what governs this and many of the major technology giants' strategies. It's not based on it's a by reference model. It's not what's the opposite of by reference, Kevin?
By value.
Yeah, it's not, the bits aren't being shipped to you and then you play them. They're being streamed to you. And as a result, there's a certain economic environment that has to be established in order to be able to, we all have to kneel before the great carrier god. Right?
Yeah, kneel or bend over. It's one of those.
Yeah, exactly. So, how you, in a world of streaming, how you reboot or restart what Dave Weiner and others did with open standards is a question that I find interesting and TBD, if you get my drift. And I wouldn't mind your doc, since you're one of the giants of open source and that whole methodology, and Kevin, who is a giant of the open standards environment, and Robert, who's a giant of the kimono environment.
Stand up, Robert.
Robert doesn't need to stand up. He's already there.
We all are naked from the waist down. So
exactly,
so we all know that.
We're all anchormen or women. So, so I would like to hear just a little bit of conversation about where is this going to have the same impact, or are we going to be? Is this kind of energy going to be subsumed rapidly as a feature or an acquisition of Facebook?
I just think it's a cool thing right now. I think Dave is, I think you're right that he's taking another run at outlining. I've always, as a writer, I've always loved outlining as a text editing method.
Do you use it?
Oh yeah, I do use it.
So that's your process.
And I used more as long as it was possible to use more. I mean, right up to the point where it couldn't be used anymore on the latest Apple versions. I missed it when I wrote my book. I really wished I had it as a way of organizing things entirely with keyboard commands and moving things up and down and having a full enough featured word processor that also does, allows you to organize very instinctively and so forth. It was just great. And most of the old keyboard commands that anybody's familiar with and more are in the little outliner, and so the basic, it's not just a matter of navigation, it's a matter of I want to move this up, I want to move that down, I want to collapse it, I want to make this subordinate to that. That's all there. And so that, I mean, it feels really good to be writing in that environment. So that's just a fun thing. And by making it small, and as Kevin points out, locally stored, that's an interesting thing. How that plays out, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I don't think Dave I mean, he's in development mode with it, and I'm interested to see where it goes. He's getting a lot of good feedback from people, and I think I think this time it may be a charm. Then he may come through with people actually adopting outlining because it's very simple, it's very lightweight, and it works pretty well. Whether or not people are willing to learn what little they need to learn in order to do it is another question. Whether or not big guys pick it up and do something with it is another question.
Well, I mean,
it's all open.
Robert, I mean, don't you think that Dave has always been successful? I mean, everything that he's ever done has gotten adoption. Sometimes it hasn't been his version of it, but he's never not been successful at that.
No, that's true. I mean, he's always been in the right market for the future.
All right. So, what do you see as I mean, would you use an outliner? Is that the way you think? I don't think that way. I understand how cool it looks, but I don't think in that way. I'm not that organized.
There are lots of places where outlines make a lot of sense. Comments, for instance, Facebook just turned on, indented replies for comments. That's sort of an outline. And Facebook, the status messages or Twitter is sort of an outline kind of thing if you look at it the right way. It's just, I don't know that Dave has found the UI that's going to go mainstream, that people are going to go, man, that is really a cool way to communicate with each other or even with myself. I do use lots of tools that have outlining kinds of features to them. Evernote sort of brings to mind that.
And there's Google Keep, which has just come out.
Yeah, I haven't played with that in a lot of depth yet because it's hard to change.
Well, but now that you're an Android boy, isn't that just perfect for you?
No, because I'm so used to Evernote. Evernote's on Android and iOS, and
right. I agree. I wonder whether they're gonna whether Google's going to be smart like they have been, or dumb like they've been other times, and not release for iOS until it's too late.
I think the real game that Google's playing now is with the Glass, and Keep makes, if there's a Keep kind of thing for the Glass that's better than the Evernote thing for the Glass, then that'll be interesting. I don't know yet. I've done so much change to my life in the last 2 weeks that my Evernote thing is lower on the list of things to try out.
And what do you mean by that? You're talking about your...
I'm on Evernote. It's great. Why do I need to change? Google wants me to change. I have other deeper things to change right now.
Such as?
This week I was skiing, and then I got into the new Flipboard magazines. That's this week's problem. Next week is going to be a new Android thing on Facebook, right? There's only so much change that even an advanced user like me can do.
Why are you laughing?
I guess I'm a retarded user.
No, I watch normal people and they change very, very slowly. My dad has he uses 6 apps, right? I have 220 apps that I use a lot. And getting him to try a new app is like pulling teeth. I have to tell him for a year to try something like Waze. I don't. Anyways, I can only try so many things in 1 week. And I'm full up.
Can you summarize your transition from iOS to Android? What are the pain points and what are the good things?
We watched last week's show. Notifications I don't like as much. People argue with me about the notifications. Sorry, a week more into it, the notifications still are superior on iOS. And demonstrably so. Mm-hmm. There are some nice things about Android notifications. You can delete them all. You can reply to a Gmail message and stuff like that. But that is it totally pales to having 3 fucking lines in my notification. The notifications.
I just wish you cared more about this. Right?
I care a lot about it because I'm using more notifications. I mean, look at this notification from Twitter. It just says new mentions.
Yeah, well, Twitter has the world's crappiest notifications.
They all suck, man.
I
Come
wrote my
on.
own app to make better ones.
They all suck. They all suck. They all have one-line notifications that are useless. They all force you to click over and read something. They all suck. Okay? There is no app that does it right, and I'm on 4.2.1, and on my Nexus 7, I'm on 4.2.2. They all suck, and anybody who says they don't suck just doesn't use many notifications. I mean, here on iOS, I have 3 lines. I can actually read most of the tweet there. I mean, you know.
I'll give you a build of my app.
Yeah, put it on my phone.
Yeah.
I have seen
Kevin's response to this argument is that his app is the only one that actually does it right.
Well,
which is probably true.
Well,
the problem
is that Android has the ability to do this right, but the developers have not bothered to look at this because I don't know why. They haven't actually read the developer spec that is on Android that says, here's how you do notifications properly.
Well, the Google Glasses also spread mass amnesia about things that work on iOS. Did you know that? There's a little gas thing right on the side.
The problem is, let me show you. This is Google Plus. This is a Google app, and Google Mail, Gmail sucks just as much. See those 4 lines? Those are each one post. They're 1 line each. They are useless. They don't give you enough information to see anything. So they force me to click over, open up the app, and then what comes up is another set of notifications. Then I have to click again to get to the actual app.
The name of the show is Revenge of the Rats. What has happened is that Apple has given us the appropriate pellets so that when they are withdrawn for any reason, we run around at increased rates until we die.
Now, on the other hand, I get way faster typing on my Android. My typing speed is going up every week because it does predictive typing, and I can type a letter like EX and it says extraordinary. I click on that word, it saves me all that keying. And it's starting to learn my language and get ahead of me. And it's really getting faster on Android. So the keyboard quality is far superior on Android than it is on iOS. But I can just hear the Apple guys going, yeah, but you had to load a new keyboard, and it's confusing, and it's different. And yes, that's true. You have, for somebody like me, it means a huge amount. For somebody like my dad, he doesn't care. He's not typing on his phone anyways, right? So, and this is the problem, is that Apple is optimizing for the lowest common denominator at this point, and that's why they don't.
It's the only common denominator. That's the cool thing for them. I mean, as far as they're concerned, they're only dealing with one phone.
Yep.
Pretty easy.
And one UI. No fragmentation, right? You pick up
it's not
any
a coincidence,
iPhone in the world,
Doc.
you know how to use it.
What's that? What's that, Steve?
It's not a coincidence that they're only dealing with one phone. That's
I know.
I
mean, it's a bug and it's a feature. So that's their.
Well, the Model T, was that a bug or a feature?
Exactly. There you go.
Well, it was a feature for getting the price down because they could figure out how to build it.
Yeah.
Right. I want to put in props for Google Maps in New York City. They are spectacular. Google's Maps app absolutely rocks.
The Maps app on Android is better than the Maps app on iPhone. So
I've heard it both ways. Of course, it would have to be better on Android. One would think, especially since it doesn't exist on the iPad. It's a little passive-aggressive move by Google to make sure that they still have an advantage there. But just on the iPhone, I've been like, if we live between 2 different subways here in New York, and it will tell us to the minute when the subways are coming in, how long it's going to take to get somewhere. When you're ready to leave somewhere and go somewhere else, just typing in a little bit of it, picks up the rest of it. You go and look, it gives you 4 or 5 different choices between walking and driving and taking public transportation, even within public transportation. It's amazingly good. And on the road, too, what they do with traffic is just amazing, because you can, like, we're driving to D.C., it sees traffic ahead, it reroutes you around the traffic. Yeah. Nothing else does that. Apple certainly does.
Waze does.
Well, Waze does that. So Waze is really good on the road. There's no doubt about it. Waze rocks on the road. But for around town, especially in New York, where you live on subways, and subways, having the subways work is just a critical thing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Works well in London too. Yeah.
Yeah, in London and in Paris as well.
Yeah, but the other thing is that it also, the other thing that it has, which I find really useful because I cycle a lot, is it has cycling directions, which nobody else seems to have. That's really good because it says, "Oh, go this way. It's a cycle route. Go turn here," and it knows the bits you can cut through. And it has walking directions too, so you can say, "I want to walk somewhere," and it knows which you can walk the wrong way down one-way streets and things. So there's some clever stuff in there, some really good data handling.
Yeah. By the way, we just got new tunnels near Pacifica, and Google Maps has the new tunnels.
So now you can get out when
I can get to Steve's house 2 minutes faster. Yeah.
When the tsunami comes, you guys can roll. That's good.
Well, or at all if the slide happens.
Yeah, exactly.
The new tunnels are nice.
Did you see that Whidbey Island slide? I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Whidbey Island, north of Seattle.
Yeah.
David Osman lives there, and about a third of the coastline has just fallen into the sea. Well, I exaggerate because it's my show.
Somebody has to.
Yeah, absolutely. The real news is just too dull.
Yeah, but North Korea is pointing nukes at us. Other than that, things are fine.
Did you see? And then we're sending over alien spacecraft to scare them.
We sent over Dennis Rodman. It's true. I mean,
unfortunately, it scared us more than it scared them.
I think so.
They thought, "Oh yeah, we can deal with this."
It's interesting. Waze yesterday didn't have the new tunnels, but it does today. So it shows that these things do get better over time.
That crowdsourcing thing.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Well, we check tunnels and ways off there.
Have you guys talked about what Kickstarter is doing to VCs?
No, I think the VCs are doing it to VCs, but I think.
Yeah.
Tell us what you mean.
Well, I don't know if it's really. I don't know if VCs are really scared of this or not, but it's a rather interesting thing that, any one of us, if we have a cool idea, can go onto Kickstarter and get up to millions of dollars for something with no loss of equity. That's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. You need angels, go to the crowd, and the angels, and they'll be your angels for you, and they just want the thing, and you just go ahead and make it. I think it's rather interesting.
Well, the other thing is actually useful for the VCs because it gives them a concrete thing that these people care enough to pay for it. It's the same with the movie studios.
It's prototyping in a way.
The Veronica Mars movie, getting that many people pledging the money that quickly makes it very easy for a studio to greenlight them to give them the rest of the money to make a really big movie.
Yeah. And I never heard of Veronica Mars before I heard about that show. I mean, about that thing.
Not one I'd caught either, but clearly they have a fan
It's a great
group.
pitch.
That reminds me of Robert Grossman, the film The Nose of Laura Eisenberg.
There's a reference that no one else will get. Lovely.
And we fully obscure.
It's completely obscure. That's why it's great.
So we're clearing out our garage. This is why I was late because we're moving an organ into our garage so my son can practice in there. So I'm packing all these boxes.
We're moving a liver into our garage.
An organ with pedals,
storage,
and manuals and stuff. Big. And so we're clearing out all these boxes that have been sitting there for 15 years since we moved here, and then we find a box full of vinyl records. And and the boys are like, "These are really big." And I fish out Dark Side of the Moon, and they say, "Oh, this is really cool. I love this thing." It's like very, very strange.
Album covers,
Album covers are beautiful things. We need something that big again. Maybe the Android phones will eventually get big enough to be an album cover. That would be good.
You should fold out. I've always wanted a phone that was something that would fold out. Get the full screen out of just folding it.
Microsoft prototyped one of those, but they never shipped it. They had one that had two screens, and you did that, and it opened up like a book.
Fun.
So, Robert, what's coming next in terms of the usual hardware thing that you're waiting for with bated breath?
The usual, you mean the Google Glass thing?
Well, other than that, please.
Well, I just got 2 Basis watches, so I'm charging those up right now.
What does that do?
It studies my heart rate, my sleep patterns, my activity, and plays games with me and tries to get me to work out more instead of being on the Gillmor gang. So it's counterproductive.
Why instead?
Oh, I've got to do something instead of
airplay, man. Airplay. You can do anything. I'm not sure I want to see that, but
you can fake more things than ever.
So, what was the thing that Kickstarter enabled the watch?
Pebble.
Oh, Pebble.
Well, there's lots of things that Kickstarter's kicking off. The real problem is that that people get all hyped up on these Kickstarter projects, and then the guys who hyped you up on something that was handmade realize, oh shit, I have to make 3,000 of these things now. That's quite a different problem than making one prototype at a tech shop. There's two hardware accelerators that I know of that are starting in San Francisco to help you build relationships with China's supply chain to help you make products that you hyped up on Kickstarter. So that's sort of how the world has changed because of Kickstarter. There's enough hardware flow now of things like little cameras that you put on your shirt, or like somebody in the chat room talked about a little sensor that you would wear even when you're swimming, sort of like the Basis watch, only the Basis watch isn't designed for swimming. And there's all sorts of fun hardware things that Indiegogo and Kickstarter are kicking out. But there is a downside, which is often you have to wait for these things to ship. The Basis watch was promised, for mid-year last year, and it really took until right now to get the ones that were ordered before it shipped. And so that's the risk is, that some of these things might never ever get to the shipping phase, because shipping is a lot harder than building one of these prototypes.
So they're doing a wooden grandfather watch instead.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but
so what are they going to ship instead? Actually, what I've heard about Kickstarter is that often somebody will overpromise swag, right? For the people who give $1,000 or more, they get this thing or that thing, and then they end up spending a lot of money on kicking back to the Kickstarter crowd a bunch of stuff, and then there don't have enough money left to do with the thing that they wanted to do. I heard.
I think the Kickstarter thing will work in the movie business.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Great idea.
Yeah.
When Netflix...
It was originally meant for art, yeah.
Yeah, when Netflix, hooks up, I mean, just think about how much airtime that they have now that's available for, like, instant news, small projects where... I mean, the House of Cards thing, for example, it's not clear what Kevin Spacey's deal is, but it's a lot more like a VC investment for him than it is. He didn't get a lot of cash up front, but he has a lot of points, and that thing, once it gets out into what used to be the real world, after they run it to death on Netflix, he's going to make a lot of money on that. And
well, you think they'll do a DVD release? I don't understand. What do you mean the real world? Or showing it overseas?
Well, I don't know if DVDs will still be here by the time that they release it. But just, second sourcing it. I mean, put it on iTunes. I mean, I can't get it on a plane, for example. That's the biggest problem.
That would be nice. That would be nice.
Yeah, it would be.
Gotcha, yeah.
So there are a lot of secondary markets which Spacey, as the sort of creative partner, has a lot of juice in. So if you extrapolate from that to Kickstarter type projects that do that, I think that'll happen. Okay, well, I've got about 10 minutes left here before I have to turn into a pumpkin. So because we got started late, apologies. What else do we want to talk about before we wrap up here?
Well, there was good news this week from the patent wars. Rackspace got a patent shut down that was trying to patent mathematics. That was nice.
Yeah, it was Red Hat and Rackspace. Red Hat actually did most of the legal work on this case because they indemnified Rackspace. But this was an example of a patent case getting thrown out before it really got going because it was so obviously invalid. And the invalidity is you're not allowed to patent mathematics. So. You know,
so that's a good precedent. We like that.
How is that?
It's Rackspace has been making a lot of noise about wanting the patent system to be cleaned up, and so have other tech companies. I mean, it's so messy and it's so bad. But I don't know how you get the system to look at itself and clean itself up.
But
it's a tough one. It's going to take a lot of money and a lot of lawyers arguing.
Okay, I've got a question for you. Is Steve Ballmer going to be the head of Microsoft 6 months from now? Yes or no?
Yes.
Start with you. You say yes, Robert?
Yeah. Now, if you said 18 months from now, I'd say no.
Okay, Doc?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think it's likely that it's just a body at rest tends to stay at rest, you know? That's a Newtonian principle. But at some point, the trapdoor opens, I imagine.
Okay. Kevin?
I'd be surprised if he's out very quickly because he owns enough of the company. I'm not sure what else he wants to do. So, yeah, he'll leave when he wants to leave.
The real problem is, do they have somebody who could replace Ballmer?
I've got a question about Tim Cook.
Tim Cook is another one that I would answer the same way. 6 months, yes. 18 months goes way down. The chances that he's still at Apple.
There are going to be a lot of people who are going to make a lot of money on Apple.
Will Apple come out with anything interesting in the next year?
Yes.
Yes,
iPhone
moderate.
6. iPhone 6.
They're coming out with a TV product and they're coming out with a watch.
And they're coming out.
I don't know.
Wait.
And they're coming out with a Retina version of this. I'm going to buy that.
That's what they
immediately.
Need. They need a Retina version.
Q3. Q3 is going to be a huge move on this. I'm seeing every time I take a plane, and I'm taking a lot of them these days. There's 10% or 5%. Let's be fair, 5% more of these minis on the flight.
Right. Yeah, there are a lot of them.
They're just taking over the larger form factor. I mean, Microsoft's talking about, there was some story about how the APIs or whatever it is, the spec has changed to allow them to go after the 7-8 inch market, whatever that is. So that they can not be successful with the square mini. Okay, I think that there's something going on there as far as Steve Ballmer's concerned. I think yeah. No, I think that there's. I mean, I just have this funny sort of suspicion in the back of my mind that it's similar to the days before Gates stepped down. I remember, I don't know when that was, but I wrote a column for whichever column I was writing it for at the time, and that basically suggested that Ray Ozzie take over, and about 3 days later, Frank Shaw calls me and says, "Where are you going to be tomorrow at 11?" And they announced it the next day, and I've got a funny feeling that, and I don't think that it's a capitulation on Ballmer's part. I think that they're going to have to make some sort of a significant nod to. Not just to Wall Street, but more importantly to their developers. I think that they're in danger of losing their developers.
Well, somebody asked this earlier, maybe it's Kevin or Robert, who's going to replace him? It's going to have to be somebody from the inside.
Yeah, but keep in mind, so Microsoft has some unique problems when you talk about a CEO. One, they have $14 billion businesses. So understanding how to deal with each of those businesses all in one 40-hour work week, 80-hour work week, is really, really difficult for any human being who isn't inside Microsoft to know how to deal with that. And so Ballmer, if he was going to walk out, should already be working with somebody to get them into that flow, that scheduling flow, and get them to build relationships with each of those teams and understand, how to deal with them and how to manage them. Then you have the public stance of the company, the strategy of the company, where is it going to go in the future? Windows 9, Xbox, and Ballmer's not good at that. He's really good at keeping the trains running on time, but he doesn't make me believe in a new thing, right? Even though he ran the sales organization for so long, which is sort of funny. But he's not a product guy. And Apple sort of has the same problem in a different way.
Well,
neither company right now has a
I don't
Apple
agree with
does
the
not
idea.
have a product guy talking to me right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Apple does not have a product guy. They have Tim, who makes the trains run on time, came out of the supply chain, and one kudos for him. Then they have Johnny Ives, who's a designer. And Johnny Ives makes me feel like he will pick the right color or the right material or the right design for a product, but he's not going to be the guy who gets ahead of the market and tells me where the market's going.
I think
the way Jobs did.
There is such a huge market in the TV product. And by TV product, I do not mean a TV. That's a peripheral for what they're going to do.
Right.
The screen is a peripheral. But the market...
That makes sense. But back with
Go ahead.
I was just going to say with Micro. Go ahead, Steve. I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
I
you
was gonna
did,
make another point.
and I'm interested. What do you want to say?
I was going to go back to Microsoft and say, I wonder about Bill Gates coming back, pulling a Steve Jobs.
He's got a job, and
Yeah,
it's
but he
in
can
many
do whatever he
ways
wants.
it's a bigger job. Well, no, I just think he's had such success in his job. I mean, his new job. Why would he
True.
want to stop that? I mean, that would hamper what he's doing.
Because the company he founded is floundering.
Well,
It's still his baby,
I mean,
even though it's a geezer now.
well, I think that something's going to happen and I think it's going to come from Ballmer, not to Ballmer. I don't think there's a board of directors that's going to have any sway over him, and because basically he will continue to have Bill Gates' support. But I think that I think Robert's onto something about the culture. I don't know what is going to change in 18 months that couldn't change in 6 months. So
Easy. It's going to get very clear that Microsoft is not getting the market share it
how
needed.
clear does it have to be?
It has to be extraordinarily clear to everybody that Microsoft is off the rails for Steve to get moved aside. It's not clear yet to anybody, except for those of us who watch the Bleeding Edge.
Well, I think if they want to shake things up, they should headhunt Eric Schmidt. I think that would be an interesting person to
Oh, well, thanks for
mention
mentioning that. You've been put that in the chat room about 5 minutes ago. I was wondering what show you were on.
I was waiting for you guys to finish talking. I'm polite.
Why do you think Schmidt is a product guy that would fill the hole that Microsoft or Apple has?
I'm not saying Apple. I'm saying Microsoft particularly because he was very, very focused on Microsoft. He's been thinking about them for a long time and competing with them strongly when he was at Google and understanding where they were and being royally screwed by them when he was at Sun and Novell. So he will be someone who understands their old modus operandi and he understands the new open web and open source way of doing things, and he'd be an interesting person to move them.
So his what do they call it when you the things that you've done prior that you do in an interview? What is that word? The piece of paper that
Resume.
Thank you.
Well, I call it a CV.
So his resume is screwed heavily at Novell.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an attribute.
Any difference did it?
It means he understands how they used to. He understands how those guys used to operate, and then he found a way to confound them at Google.
You think he found a way to confound them?
Yeah.
They did
think
at
that there's
Google.
been an over.
I just don't. I don't ever see Microsoft's culture accepting Eric Schmidt.
No, I'd be surprised if it happened. But if you wanted someone who's really thought about Microsoft for a long time and understands them and is smart, I'd pick Eric.
It also Eric Schmidt really didn't get social at Google, and I don't think he's positioned well to take Microsoft into the future. He does not fill any of the holes that Microsoft has, which isn't dealing with these $14 billion businesses. I think Eric would be pretty good at that, at understanding how a big business works and how to manage his calendar and how to manage relationships. He's good at that. But he's not a guy who makes me dream about the future. And Microsoft needs somebody to fill that hole, to get us to believe that Windows Phone is going to matter in the future. The problem is nobody believes Windows Phone is going to matter in the future. There's a few people out there, but even Microsoft's top people in the community are like, I don't believe in Windows Phone. I have an iPhone. And if you don't change that dynamic, then Microsoft ends up with 3% market share eventually on all of its products.
Does anybody
right now, it's only on the phone that you see the 3% market share and on Surface RT. But that 3% market share is going to march through its entire product line. And that means 20 years from now, Microsoft is going to be a completely different company than it was, 5 years ago.
Doc, you were saying?
Well, there were two thoughts. One was I was just going to ask Robert or anybody. Is there anybody out there that's making you excited about the future, like Steve used to do, or even for that matter, Bill used to do back when he was writing The Road Ahead? That was one question.
Larry Page is.
Larry Page does. He really does that for you.
Yeah, he does. Right now, Larry Page is the guy. In terms of business, Mark Benioff does. Mark has great instincts. In terms of how to deal with business and where the future of business is going.
Why would Mark want to go to Microsoft? He's got
he
his
wouldn't.
own company.
That's not the question. It's just
somebody
who gets you excited? Who gets you excited about the future? Okay.
Yeah. I don't see a lot of people making me really hot and bothered about the future at this point. There's lots of startups. I mean, the guy runs Prime Sense, which makes the 3D sensor, but that's a small scale excited about the future, not a big company excited about the future. I think Marissa Mayer's one. It's interesting to watch her. I don't know yet.
I think she stumbled with this no working from home. I think that was a mistake.
See, I don't agree with that. And I'm a work at home guy. I'm talking to you in my man cave with 4 big ass screens in front of me. And so I like to work at home. But when you're trying to change a corporate culture,
I understand why she did it. I didn't say that it was. I think it was a mistake for her.
Well, what about her buying Sumley from that 17-year-old kid? That was kind of fun.
Let's talk about that. I know that 17-year-old kid. I interviewed him. He's very pushy and very smart at the same time. I don't know that he had that great a technology. I mean, I've talked to lots of people about the technology, and there was lots of people are like, I don't know. And in fact, he licensed the technology from SRI Labs, if I remember right. So I'm not sure how much of that $30 million he supposedly got paid, how much landed in his pocket versus going to SRI or whatnot, or back to the investors. So I don't know how much equity he had or whatnot, but let's say he ended up with a couple $1 million in his pocket. Not too bad for a 17-year-old. I haven't done that, and I'm 48. For Yahoo, it's a signaler to me that the world of mobile and the world of short little things matters to Yahoo a lot. And having some young talent in Yahoo that can help energize the culture matters a lot. And is that worth $30 million to Marissa? I don't know. I have to see her strategy play out. It's more interesting than anything that the previous generation did, though. At least it has me thinking, like, what is Marissa up to? What's she doing? You know, and for her, $30 million is probably not that big a deal. You know, in today's world, having to spend $30 million to change everybody's opinion about you is, in terms of a big company, it's not that big a deal. And to take a little risk here and there. But I want to see, how does that fit into a bigger strategy? And do we see something dramatic out of Yahoo that sort of signals that they're...
I'm losing you guys. I don't know if we're all still here or not, but
I am
losing it.
Yep.
I hear you.
Hello.
All right.
What?
Steve, are you here?
Okay, good.
I'm
Good.
listening to it.
All of you guys got Parkinson's. First,
about my
Robert got
parking
Parkinson's, and Steve, and then Mark. Now I have Parkinson's, according to what I see on the screen.
What? I'm confused.
I don't know. I think our channel was the internet's between me and Doc got cut somehow.
Yeah, right.
Maybe there's some diver underneath his house
It's
cutting
that
his
tunnel out
internet
of Half Moon
feed.
Bay. It's that tunnel.
Christian Burns, by the way, just said Microsoft has a nice war chest. I think all these companies really do have a nice war chest to do things. Microsoft, I think, has $60 billion in the bank. Apple has 130, and Google has somewhere between the two. So, not too bad.
Well, I think Tim Cook is. I think you're wrong about Tim Cook. I think that the Apple stock price is now discounted to the point where there are going to be a lot of people who are going to make a lot of money with it. And
I agree. Actually, I think that's true, especially when they come out with whatever it is in the third quarter.
Yeah, this is not a stock show, and my track record with stock tips is abysmal. Although
it went down 2% today, so
I'm not talking about short term. I'm talking about as they marshal the TV monopoly that they have with AirPlay, it's going to make a big difference to not only their revenue but to the perception that they are adrift, which they're not. I don't think.
Speaking of TV, I just have to interject this. If you have a chance to get on HBO and see the special, the Al Pacino playing
Phil Spector.
Phil Spector, it's spectacular. It is one of the best things I've ever seen, especially if you know the music. And it's written by David Mamet. It got no ratings, and it was absolutely amazingly good. Just want to say.
Okay, well, I'll wait for Netflix. Okay, let's wrap this up. Once around the table real fast, because we're about to turn into an iPod version. Seriously. The only way I can master this and get it onto AOL is through an iPod version. It makes it, look appropriate for, for the amount of eyesight that I have left. Okay, let's start with Kevin Marks.
I'm not sure I've got anything to wrap up with.
Yeah.
No, nothing left. Sorry, I've used it all up.
Okay, so we've answered all your questions.
I think so for this week.
Excellent. Okay, Robert Scoble.
I'm just reading. Steve Wozniak had an interview on Insider Monkey, I guess, where he's talking about Siri, and I totally agree with him that we want a way to connect our apps together in a far deeper way than they're connected today. If you ask Siri who's checked in at the Ritz on Foursquare, there is an answer for that. There is an API for that. It's not connected to Siri, and Siri gives you a stupid answer. And I'm hoping that this industry gets together in some real way to make our little data silos of all this data that we're spraying up to the clouds hooked together in some way. So that's probably a talk for another show. Go Android.
Doc?
Two things. One is what Robert wants from all these little silos and APIs that aren't being heard and so forth, I think can at least be partially answered by personal clouds and the Internet of Me and My Things. So look into those and keep an eye on Dave Weiner's little outliner. I think those are a really cool thing.
Well, Notifications does that.
There's Internet of Things meetup next Thursday, isn't there, Doc, in San Francisco?
Yeah. They're
Personal Cloud one. Sorry.
Personal Cloud. Yeah, they're happening often in San Francisco.
Yeah.
We're going to do one in New York too. If anybody's interested in New York, let us know. We're especially wanting developers. So.
Well, let us know when those things are.
Yeah, we will.
Either in the chat room or through other mechanisms.
Okay. Thanks.
This is Steve Gillmor. This has been the Gillmor Gang. I want to thank. Well, first of all, I want to thank. I'll reverse it. Instead of Rackspace and especially Rob Legess, I'll say especially Rob Legess, who is recuperating nicely from some surgery and will be around to bother us for many years to come. So I'm really glad about that, and of course Rackspace for doing all the great work that they do. I want to thank NewTek and their TriCaster. I want to thank our producer and director, Tina Chase Gillmor, and thereof. And I want to thank Doc Searls. Thanks, Doc.
Welcome. My pleasure.
Welcome back, right? Robert Scoble.
Nice to see you, Doc.
Nice to see you too, Robert.
And Kevin Morris. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
We'll see you again next time. If there is a next time. I used to say that, but I don't mean it anymore. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again. Bye.